There are many ways that people can influence others, from language patterns, emotional tone and resonance, understanding of human psychology. But there are two ways that influence can be exerted very powerfully over others that aren't talked about very often. If you're not mindful of these two things, you can easily give away your power to those wielding them without even realizing it, diminishing your own power and corroding your own sense of who you are. Today, we're discussing staying true to you, not falling prey to power dynamics, so you can avoid being caught up in power dynamics that you might not even be aware of. And after the discussion, we get to the most important part of this episode. The group frequency calibration at the end is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs. So be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns targeted by the GFC, the change you want will be more difficult to attain because you haven't addressed the root of the issue. My name is Karen Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Tia. Let's dive in.
So power dynamics are everywhere, whether it's the media or relationships or past things, whatever, everywhere in our world. So what specifically are you talking about here with power dynamics?
Yeah. So I'm talking about influence, and you're right. There's so much that tries to influence us, right? Whether it's to consume, whether it's because someone has an agenda, whether it's like a political agenda, it doesn't really matter. People are trying to influence us at all times. What I'm talking about today is something that most people don't know about, or one thing they probably have heard of, and then one they probably haven't. And it is out there more than you would think, and it's really to bring light to them. So the two things that I'm talking about in terms of how people are influenced or can be influenced is enchantment and passion. Okay, and you think, whoa, what? Right? I mean, you're like, are those even related? How are they different, etc. Okay, so what do I even mean by enchantment? Okay, so enchantment's a thing. It's not like just like the fairy tale. Okay, it's actually, to me, when I think of enchantment, it's actually a power that is a derivative of the witch frequency, okay, or the wizard frequency, whatever you want to call it. Either both have them. And the witch frequency, just to be really clear, and the wizard frequency is neutral, meaning it can be wielded for both dark and light, and it simply has to do with manipulation or control over the physical to create a certain outcome. Okay. So that's a very reductionist view of how they work, but from my perspective, that's what's happening. Enchantment is part of that, it's a subset of that. Okay. And what I mean by that is that it is very specific, it's very human, it's very earthbound, and it is about influencing people and getting them to enroll or sometimes do things or feel things they wouldn't normally on their own. And they're sort of blind to the fact that they wouldn't normally choose it. So for example, right, I've seen this with gurus. I've seen this with huge motivational speakers. I've seen it with people who have like a lot of influence over, their peer groups. They'll literally convince people that they're going to, there's this one woman I'm thinking of actually in particular right now, and she literally would be like, okay, today we're gonna go try this new whatever thing it was, fill in the blank, jump out of a plane, go on this art walk. I mean, it wasn't all totally crazy. But people who wouldn't necessarily want to do those things would get caught up in her, whatever it was that she was creating, and they'd kind of go along with her, even though they might not necessarily want to go on a bike rally. Or, do you see what I'm saying? Or go scuba dive in this place.
Like without their influence, they wouldn't, without that woman's influence, they wouldn't normally do that. That's your point.
Yeah, exactly. Or try this new diet, or, listen to this whatever. But it's interesting because you're like, well, isn't that what influence is? Enchantment has a special extra piece to it, which has to do with, because it's a subset of the witch frequency, it has to do with control. Okay, and it can be wielded by both females and males, and it can be wielded for both dark and light, meaning that I've seen people use this for good, meaning they know, right? They know they can get people to do things. They just know they have this ability. And so they use it for good, right? They're like, okay, people, let's go support saving something, or, making the world better in this way, or whatever it is, okay? And there are other people who use it to sell stuff, all right? Or to get you to buy into a certain agenda, or whatever it is. It can be kind of yucky. So the reason I'm talking about it is because most people aren't even aware that enchantment is a thing. And they're so blind. And it's funny, when people are in enchantment, they stop thinking. They literally, it's like they don't see the person's humanness or their flaws or their whatever. They only see this, you know what I mean? Like the wrapping of
like
the
they're
enchantment.
on this pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you've wrapped everything this like golden bow and you don't see anything other than like awesomeness, right? You're like, oh, I want to be part of that. Right. So it gets kind of strange. Do you see? That's where the manipulation comes in.
Yeah.
Because the person's blind in that case. Yeah. And it's weird, enchantment can, if you're enchanted by a person and you have multiple lifetimes with them, it's weird. Like you can see it in multiple lifetimes, and like I have to release it from distortion, from a frequency perspective through their distortion patterns through lifetimes. Yeah, it's a thing. Like enchantment's a thing. Yeah.
And so you're comparing that to passion.
Yeah. So passion is actually an amplifier. Okay. So a lot of people, when they think of passion, they think of it positively, like passion between lovers or passion for a cause or something good. But also passion can be something which is evoked around something negative, right? So if you think about very racist groups, for example, and they want to go beat some people up because they're of a certain ethnic group or whatever it is, passions can be stirred or really amplified, positively or negatively, right? So it's an amplifier. So the thing is about passion is that you typically have to be in the field of it, okay? So let's just imagine that whether it's positive or negative, right? You get stirred up by the person's like conviction, their excitement, their fervor, okay? Their passion. So what happens is their resonance rises or gets bigger, okay? So their resonance amplifies. And you, because you're in their field, feel that same thing in you. So your resonance rises too, which catches, right? So that's how passion can spread in a group. And now the mastermind is like in this amplified state. Now, if you were to disperse physically, right? Now you're having this moment, and now all of a sudden you had to leave because you had an engagement, right? And so you left from that group. The passion that you would feel would diminish because you're not in that field in the same way. And you would not necessarily be blind to what was happening. Does that make sense? You would actually see
enchantment.
It. Like the enchantment. Yeah, you would actually see better. You'd be like, oh, wait a minute. Is this really for me? Like, do I really want to, ostracize these people or save the whales or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Right? Because passion can be for anything.
Yep.
So, but you have more, because you're not in that same field, you have distance from it and can have like
almost like think for yourself.
So, exactly.
Versus the enchantment can also be good or bad, as passion can be good or bad. But you're almost in a
trance.
That's what I was saying.
Yes,
yeah.
You're in a trance. And it's really kind of remarkable. And with enchantment, there's an element of seduction there. It's kind of interesting. And please know, this is not just like a female thing. A lot of people will think that, enchantment is only feminine. No, not at all. There are definitely men who can enchant, right? There is enchantment in the masculine, for sure. So I'm just mentioning this at all. I mean, why am I talking about any of these things? Because in order for these things to work, to influence you, you have to basically not be holding your space, and you have to give your power away. Okay, in order for it to work. So if you're able to maintain your own space and to check whatever is happening around you, meaning, so let's just imagine you're trying to convince me of something, right? And you're wielding your seductive powers.
Am I enchanting or am I passionating?
Yeah, you're enchanting me. Okay. And you can kind of feel it because it's almost like, you'll see, when it's interesting to watch body language, because I've seen it where literally it's a person talking to thousands of people and everyone's body leans forward.
Wow.
It's fascinating to watch. They don't even know they're doing it. I'm just like, holy moly. Everyone's like just entranced and they're like their heart, like they're moving towards them.
Wow.
However, if in that moment, okay, you're one of those thousands of people in that audience, you're like, okay, I'm going to hold my space here. And I'm going to, and if you don't know what holding your space is, I recommend, I think it's episode 121, Steady as She Goes, Holding Your Space. You may want to watch that. Tina and I talked about that quite a bit. So it's to hold your space so that you can maintain your own frequency resonance, clear of whatever they're doing. So you can assess, is this what this person's saying for me applicable to me? Can I learn from this right now? Is it something that resonates with me? Is it something I want to action on? But it's clear, right? They're not like pushing into your field.
Right.
They're not pushing into the sphere
and
of
controlling your thought patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not inside the sphere of your spirit body. And that's how magic works. It interweaves and comes through, right? It like percolates through the spirit body. So same with passion, right? You get into someone's field, they're all passionate, their frequency resonance is amped up, yours is amping up, and you're like, wait a minute, hang on. Where is my space here? Like, where's my sphere, my spirit body? You know, and there's nothing wrong with passion, okay? So passion can be really great. But just to hold your space and be like, just check yourself. Where am I right now? You know, like what's true for me right now?
Right.
As opposed to just getting swept away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can only think of examples of myself because I'm me sitting here. And I would do that a lot, the passion one.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'd be around a lot of people who were kind of boring, let's just say. And I'm like trying to hype up the scene. You know? This is more in my younger years, but I would be passionate about usually some kind of holiday gathering, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? Here's some boring people who have no fun in their lives. And I'm like, let's all get together and have a pumpkin party, you know, or whatever it is. And then I've seen that like, wow, these people who typically like wouldn't be doing anything are now excited about something. And then that made me feel good to make someone else feel good. So that would be an example probably of a positive one.
Positive use of passion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because what you're doing is you're raising the resonance of the group. Okay? Yeah. Because you're deliberately amplifying your own resonance so that it like basically cascades and impacts them. Yeah. Right? So that's awesome. The thing about passion is it's not the same kind of control necessarily as enchantment. Enchantment is different. So if you ask somebody who has the ability to enchant, if they do it, they would not say that I'm somebody who wields the power of enchantment, okay? It's not like they go around saying this, you know? But if you say to them, have you noticed that you can get a lot of people to do stuff even if they don't really want to? And they'll be like, they'll know. They'll know. And they've probably been able to do it since they were a little kid. It's kind of interesting.
And probably getting better and better at it.
Yep. It's just a power. It's just like a magic thing that they have, an ability that is, like I said, a very specific thing. Enchantment can get dark because it does, as you say, it feeds the ego a little bit. Yeah. Because you can now get people to do what it is that you want, and you're wielding it more and more, and it can be more and more people. And it's weird because people can like really kind of get off on that, right? They get a kind of an ego bump from that because it is power being wielded over someone else. Yeah. And like I said, it can always be wielded for dark or for light. And you have to be really mindful of the ego. Yeah. Because you can get in there. If you're the person doing the enchanting, if you're the person on the receiving end of the enchantment, my recommendation is to just, hold your space and not give your power away. It's very easy for us to do. Do it all the time.
Yeah. Probably because we practice that more than holding our space.
Yeah, exactly.
Practice giving it away. Yeah. I'm thinking of, I'm not going to name names, someone in the public eye who's an enchanter, a male enchantress, a male enchanter, and they used to be more positive, and I think what happened is over time their ego got fed because they're a human too. Yep. They were intending to do positive, and then your ego gets so big because wow, everyone listens to me, and now they're like trying to like sexually assault people. Yes. It's like, geez. Yeah. Darn. So thank you for this podcast because it's good to be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And really what I'm encouraging everyone to do is it's not like you all of a sudden have to be like defended and like skeptical and then anybody who's passionate needs to be regarded with scrutiny and like distanced from. Okay, I'm not suggesting that because passion can be a wonderful thing. It's a very expansive emotion that can light aspiration in people. So passion can be wonderful. What I'm suggesting is that you do not just give your power away to someone because they seem to be influencing you positively. For a moment, scan. Yeah. Does this resonate with me? That's it. Just to be aware of your own space, your own resonance, and to not just give your power away without thinking, right? So please know that I'm not suggesting at all that you don't involve yourself in passion projects or whatever it is that you love to do. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying watch yourselves
Yeah.
so that you don't sort of get sucked into something because you're not paying attention.
I think a big thing too is just like if everyone around you is, you might even unconsciously also, just because of we're social people and we follow the group. It's just kind of, I feel like, hardwired in us.
Yeah, because we're following the momentum of that mastermind.
Right.
So to check yourself, where is my resonance? Where's my spirit body? Does this feel congruent to me? And you know, it's funny because we often don't want to rock the boat, right? So it's a group of people. They've all decided
everyone's into
it. Everyone's going off to do the thing. And part of you is like, this doesn't feel right to me. Yeah. It doesn't feel right. I don't know what the heck this is, but it just, everything else has been cool. But this thing, you know, we're so oddly, especially females, are very conditioned to being polite and not rocking the boat and needing to be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. It does not matter ultimately, like, because if you get swept along into something that you don't want to do and that you regret later, you're going to beat yourself up about that forever. Okay. It's best to check yourself and make you some excuse, even if it's lame. You have to pee, your stomach hurts, whatever. It doesn't matter. Or you can say, you know, I just don't want to do this. I'm sorry, this is not my thing. I'll meet you guys later, or whatever. Okay. But if you're not congruent with it, to recognize that's really important, and then to stand your ground and not engage in that. Why? Because it enforces your own sense of your own internal stability, your own strength, your own authority. Okay? So you're holding firm against other people's distortions that are trying to get you to do something, or other people's frequencies, I'm sorry, that are trying to influence you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's important, especially for people who are pleaser types or empaths, where you feel everybody else, to really be firm in these situations, because what you're doing is strengthening your own sense of self, your own spirit body, okay, so that you can clarify and become much more stable internally, so you're not influenced by those outside things, okay, unless you choose to, which is fine, right?
But you choose, that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Be conscious that you're the one choosing.
Exactly.
Yeah, a mutual friend of ours and I went to a ceremony with a large amount of people. There was sound and there was things to drink and things, legal things. and this friend and I seemed like the only ones who were like, what's going on here? Like, maybe there was a sense of the enchanting going on to a small degree, but I'm saying this because before, when I was in a situation like this, I might have been more swept in. And then since doing frequency work, I have noticed I went to a similar gathering with a different leader, and it was clear from the beginning. It was just like, no, everyone's just following these people, and it felt not right at all. So we left.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you just
there
left.
you go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it sounds like not a big deal, but in the moment, it can kind of feel like a big deal.
No, yeah.
And for someone like you who's had trouble holding your space, that's a huge victory.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no, this is not congruent with my resonance. It's not who I am. I don't want to do this.
I could have left earlier, but the point is we did leave. And didn't stay for the whole thing.
That's perfect.
And each time we'll probably get better.
Yeah. And that's what progress is, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, that's what strengthening is. And you knew it and you acted on it. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think I'm just raising this so that people are thinking about it, because we're so habituated to giving our power away. It's like constant. But the more frequency work you do, the more you'll be aware of it, the less well it will sit with you when someone's trying to influence you in a way that you don't want. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. And for those of you who would like help with starting to empower yourself so you're not as influenced by enchantment or passion in a way that's negative to you, I'd recommend listening to the group frequency calibration that's associated with this particular interview to help you begin to break those distortion patterns. And if you have something you'd like to share of times where you have noticed that there have been attempts to influence you and you've managed to break free, I'd love to hear about it. We're about to start the group frequency calibration, or GFC, where we actually do the frequency work and where change is catalyzed. To get to the GFC, click on the square that'll appear to the right or the link in the description below. It's time to bring in a new experience, a new consciousness, and a new world. Let's rise together.